Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful event at CoverMyMeds. I really appreciate everyone taking the time. I know people are busy, and really appreciate you coming today to this event. I just wanted to start off with a few comments before we get started. First, to thank Brixie and Meyer and BioOhio for co-sponsoring this event with us. And Brixie and Meyer, thank you for giving us the opportunity to bring the learning leader to CoverMyMeds. We're really excited to host our first podcast at the company. So I wanted to take a chance just to introduce some of the guests that we have here today. First of all, my name is Erica Conroy. I work at CoverMyMeds, and I lead our specialty business, and I've been here for about 5 years. And I also am a part of BioOhio, so it's really exciting for me to collaborate on an event like this tonight. So to start, Ryan Hawk is here. He's the founder and the host of The Learning Leader. And it's a podcast that, if you're not familiar with it, it's already been listened to by millions of different people in about over 150 different countries. So a really awesome podcast. We're really excited to have you here, Ryan. Ryan has had conversations with lots of different top leaders, whether they're CEOs, entrepreneurs, professional athletes, coaches, authors, and much more. And he also runs the leadership advisory team at Brixie and Meyer. Interestingly, though, Ryan is not just a leader interviewer, he's a leader himself. He was a college and professional athlete, and then he joined the corporate world and rose quickly up to an executive level where he was leading sales for multi-billion-dollar companies. So really impressive background. Today, he's going to be speaking with a couple folks that I'm really excited about from CoverMyMeds. The first is Vicki Muscarella. Vicki is our current VP of Engineering and Data for our specialty business. She has over 25 years experience designing, developing, and supporting highly scalable and reliable software products, and she has a really great success leading technology teams. Vicki's a leader that others follow, and that includes myself. She leads with a level of humility and integrity and takes deep responsibility in those that have the chance to work with her. And then Ryan and Vicki are also joined by our special guest, Matt Scantland. He is the co-founder and CEO of CoverMyMeds, and Matt is a big advocate for the development of employees at CMM and really prioritizes this place being the best place to work and grow. And he's here to add his perspective on how Vicki and the people of CoverMyMeds have really created a culture of 1,000 leaders that's really leading us into the future. So I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I hope we all get a chance to learn something today that is accessible in our own personal leadership development. I'm really excited for that personally, and I also think it's a great opportunity to meet some new people. I have tonight, and I've really enjoyed getting to know a few of you. And then lastly, there's several people to thank. I want to first thank Nicole Nolan and Ben Patton for organizing this event, and then our amazing culinary team. The food here tonight is incredible. That's Sarah, Nicole, Eddie, Marianne, and Gabby. So please give them a special thanks. They're here tonight and just have done a wonderful job. And after a very busy day already at CoverMyMeds. And then I wanted to thank Scott and Lauren from BioOhio for helping us also organize this event, organizing the registration and the event and so forth. Same with Miranda and Nicole from Brixie and Meyer. You guys have done a really nice job making this special and thinking of things like really creative things that make the night special. So I appreciate that, like this drawing board we have over here. And then lastly, Dan Duncan. Thank you. I don't know where Dan is. Right here. Thank you, Dan, for making sure we're all set up and the sound is great and we're all ready to go. Really appreciate you doing that too. So with that, I thank you guys all for coming. I hope you enjoy it. And with that, I'll leave it off to these guys.
All right. Before we get started, we have to give a bigger applause. That's one of the best intros I received. Thank you very much, Erica. Give Erica a big, please. It was awesome. It was great. Not surprised, and that leads into my first topic because we were just talking before we got going, Vicki, to start, was the incredible culture that you've built here collectively at CoverMyMeds. There's countless awards that would take us forever to read off. One of the best places to work literally in the country, year after year after year. So I'd love to get started talking about, from a culture perspective, what's your overall philosophy on intentionality around building a culture where people love to come to work and employees seem to, I mean, just my brief time here, I'm looking, the smiles, people have energy. It seems like a place you'd want to be and spend a big portion of your life. So could you share some of your thoughts on how you've been able to build some of that?
Yeah, sure, thanks. I think you're right, we're very intentional about the culture here. It's important to us, and we also know that you can't take it for granted. So something you have to keep working on, and put an awful lot of energy into doing exactly that. I think one thing that we know that we've thought about a lot, I did a talk with one of my colleagues here a year or so ago, and we talked a lot about what culture is, and we started actually with what culture isn't. And we said, you know, we have things like beer taps and kayaks and chefs that cook us amazing meals, and you know, you could look, I guess, on the surface and say that's the CoverMyMeds culture, and I think we looked and said, actually, no, that's not the culture. That's maybe a representation, you know, it's a reflection, I think, of the culture, but it's not the culture itself. Instead, the culture is how we treat each other, the values, the behaviors, and that's really what it's all about. So how do we sustain that? How do we keep that going? I think it's really about making sure that the employees are connected to the work. And I was recently reading a book called Prime to Perform, and I think the top takeaway from that book for me was really that the number one motivator for individuals is play. So it's really about finding something that you're doing and wanting to do that more than anything else, or at least as much as you'd like to do anything else. And so if we can put people in positions and roles and make sure that they're able to be decision makers, the information's close to them, and they're the ones that are really driving the results, that's what's leading to this amazing smiles that you see around the room.
It's really cool. Matt, what do you think, add on to some of that? I mean, you've obviously played a big role. You've won countless awards as being an incredible CEO. What is some of your thought process around how this incredible culture has been built and sustained?
Yeah. Well, I think Vicki said it really well, which is that it's about the people. And, you know, as a business leader, I think everyone in this room has a choice to make. And the choice that we've made is to say, we can't win unless we have great people. And great people have lots of options about where they work. And so we need to be their best option. We need to be their best place to work, which was what we started with. And then about a year ago, maybe, we said, actually, we need to be the best place to work and to grow. And Vicki described some of the ways that we help people grow. We have a dream here of 1,000 leaders, and that's growth, but there are many ways that we grow. And if you say I'm going to be the best option for people that have lots of options, you need to understand what they value. And we think that the people who we need, and therefore what we need to deliver that people value, is people that want to do big things. And people that want to do big things want to accomplish big things for themselves in their career, and they want to accomplish big things for the world. And so we try to answer those two questions. What's in it for me, for our employees, and what's in it for the world? And a big part of how we answer that what's in it for me is career opportunities. And one of the best way to create career opportunities is to grow the company and then hire our people. Not top them with people from outside, but hire our people. And we're now promoting for promotion roles, we're filling those about 60% internally as just one example. But it's career opportunities, it's autonomy. Vicki does an incredible job creating autonomy, and I hope we get a chance to talk about how that's enabled. It's our values, and then of course our mission of helping patients get the medications they need to live healthy lives, which is a mission that when we do it well, when we grow by expanding the impact we have on that mission, we make the world a better place, and that's why we're all here.
So you talk about the people, and I'm fascinated by the process to recruit, hire, train, develop, retain incredible people, which obviously you've been able to do here. Let's dig into that process a bit. Of one, some of the qualities that you look for. I know there's specific skills obviously with roles, but some of the qualities you look for in someone to add to your team, because right, you like to hire at certain levels and then promote, so there you got to have some specific qualities for that. So what do you look for, and then how do you find it? Because that's the tough part, because we could probably all list, oh, I want this, this, and this, but it's a challenge to actually find it, and then once you get one of those stars, the high potentials for them to want to stay and grow within the company.
Every individual that joins CoverMyMeds has to participate in what we call either a code day or a project day, and it's a full day that they're going to spend here with us. And the idea behind it is to really get beyond the resume, get beyond the good polished interviewer, and really get to see that person in the role before they're here with us. And we've been, like I said, every single person does that. I think we wear it like a badge of honor, actually. Like, I made it through Code Day. I'm proud.
Did you say Go Day?
Code Day.
Code
sorry.
Day. So Code Day, from an engineering perspective, so
Yeah.
that means you're giving them essentially, they're going to do some work.
Yeah.
They have to actually simulate the role.
That's right.
Okay.
So they're going to build a project. They're literally going to build an application in a day. And the idea of the day is really to stretch you beyond where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
That's on purpose. We want to see how you react when you're in that spot, when you're under a little bit of stress, when you need to interact with folks and maybe you have to make some decisions. It seems to be a real good test of kind of what you're made of and whether that's going to work here. Place like this is exciting. To Matt's point, the growth is tremendous and gives us so much opportunity. I'm so thankful for it myself. But that also means that it's potentially not the right place for everybody. It is a pace and it is a intensity that is kind of a notch up. And if that's for you, it's great. But I think that's one of the things that I would be personally looking out for during that interview process is, does this really suit you? Is this the type of role that you're looking for? So that goes to one of the things that you asked. The other thing, and I was just conveying this story to Angela the other day, I think that it's super important. There have been a few instances where we've interviewed candidates who on paper look good. First interview's solid. We do a follow-up, still solid, but there's something not quite there. And I know, we tend to want to make interview processes as objective as they can be, because you're messing with people's lives. It feels, I don't want my personal opinion to kind of color or us to lose a candidate, quite honestly. But I do think there's something to be said for, we're looking for every person that we bring on has some special, unique thing, and it's different for everybody. For one person it might be, I'm interested in really focusing on teaming with my team. I'm a software developer, but I really care about building teams. Another might be about the tech. Another might be, about, I'm trying to think of other examples. So it doesn't have to be the same thing, but there has to be something specific and unique that they kind of bring. It comes across, I think, in the interview process as a passion.
Yeah, gotcha. Matt, how about outside of a code day? I like the thought of this simulation of essentially a try before you buy model to make sure that this is going to work here. what are some of the combination of the qualities you look for in people to add to your team, as well as ways that you're able to find it outside of specifics from engineering? Because I think from people who are listening and people who are here, this is a magic question for a lot of them. You've obviously figured something out, so that's what I think I'm curious about. I imagine others are too.
Maybe I think two important concepts. One is that it's not just a tryout for the potential employee. It's a tryout for us, because it doesn't help us or this person if we don't work for each other. And so one of the benefits of Code Day, it's not we're going to try and make you fail and see if we can hire you or you go away. It's we're going to see whether we can create some magic together. And that's an important element that allows the candidate to know that we're a good fit for them too. It's not we're going to try and make you fail, because no one here is accomplishing anything on their own. And so it's really is a bit of a teaming experience, two-way street. But the question about, does this work beyond technical roles? Fundamentally, what we're trying to do here is move beyond the resume, move beyond the credential, to evaluate whether the person and CoverMyMeds are a good fit together. Can the person deliver the result that we need for this role? Can CoverMyMeds create purpose and engagement for this employee? And so if we think about it that way, rather than can they write code, then we can think about how to construct a project day that allows us to determine, can this person achieve a result in anything? I think it's a little easier, candidly, as the jobs have more technical components than some things that are pretty soft and frankly are harder to accomplish in the time frame that we have. But fundamentally what we're trying to do is move beyond that credential. And when we do that, we're able to say, can we work together, and can this person accomplish the result that we're going to be looking for? So a code day that isn't technical might be, let's work on a marketing piece. It might be, let's make a customer presentation. It might be, let's analyze some data, is kind of maybe a middle ground. But let's not just analyze it, let's actually see if we can help someone with it. Can we help a customer or a patient access their medication, as an example? And when we do that, by moving beyond the credential, we actually widen the goalposts around who is a good fit. Especially the average age here at CoverMyMeds is pretty young, probably 28 or so. And early in your career, I really believe that your resume is as much maybe a reflection of your parents as it is you. And so when we move beyond the credential and the resume to the person, we're able to bring people from much more diverse backgrounds, different skill sets, different training or academic credentials, and actually widen the candidate pool in some ways, because we care a lot less about what the degree was once we have a better way to decide whether we're a good fit than just keyword filtering on a resume.
Speaking of degrees, so Vicki, you have an interesting degree in college, especially considering what you do on a day-to-day basis. Could you maybe tell a bit of your story as far as what you studied in college and then perhaps took a left turn to doing what you do now? I found that fascinating to learn about you.
Yeah, I have a degree in music performance, and now I'm leading technical teams. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting path and journey. As I was mentioning to you, Ryan, it really was it was a difficult decision, quite honestly. It was really hard because I had dedicated so much of my life to becoming pretty versed in music, and then, but I realized that I really wasn't in it for that, starting artist kind of approach, and so I ended up in a temp job doing data entry, and I was in a room of people, and the computers would have problems here and there, and sure enough, if I I would just go over and help out. And so the gentleman that was, kind of managing us said, "Hey, we have an opening in our engineering department. I think, you'd be really great for it." And I said, "Me? I don't know anything about this." And so that kind of was the journey. And from there, it's been very much about learning on the job, taking some classes, becoming educated that way. But I do feel like that diversity in background, and I agree with Matt, I don't know that what the degree is in really matters. And I'm really not a fan of the keyword search on the resume and kicking people out, because I think that really can limit the pool.
And I would imagine too the habits you created of having to be very disciplined in that probably carried over, I would imagine.
Yes, and I feel like that was the big thing. I know people often say, "Oh yeah, music and technology, there seems to be a hook and people get hooked." And I think they assume that it's a creativity kind of tie. I've always felt like it's actually the discipline that you need to be a musician and to be a professional musician is really what set me up to be very successful in technology.
And consistency, I would imagine. What about the changes that you've experienced with women in tech? I would imagine as your career has progressed, I'll let you answer, but I feel like it's progressed some, at least I hope so. I don't know, what's been your experience in that?
It has. I wish it were further than it is, but the story that I like to tell, I was at a professional developer conference in the 90s, and 3,000 person conference, large convention center, and the best part of the story is they converted every single women's room to a men's room except one. And that's because there were just so few women. There was no need to have, and they needed the bathrooms for the guys, quite honestly. And now when I go to a similar event, it's much more balanced. It's not as balanced as I'd like to see, but we've come a long way.
What do you think of that, Matt, and some of Vicki's story as well as the industry as a whole and your intentionality about that?
I think it's wrong that we as an industry aren't equally representing the population. And I believe that doing the right thing is that we should aspire to equally represent the population. And I also believe that that will make us more successful when we do that. And I don't think as an industry, I don't even think as CoverMyMeds, we're doing it as well as we should be. I think we're trying, but I think that it's the stories that Vicki shared are still too common. I hope in the world that we live in, and all of us live in the future, that we will think about people rather than labels. And that's, I think, what we're trying to do. One of our core values here is be yourself, which is, it's a lot of things, but it's a diversity value. With our hiring practice, with Code Day, I think we're helping. Vicki, I don't know whether to feel bad that I didn't know you were a music major, or to feel proud that we didn't care. And Erica, who introduced us, Erica has a PhD in chemistry. And so, this is how we're getting out of unconventional things. But I don't think we're doing enough as an industry. And I think that if you are a woman in technology, it's certainly not easy, and it's not always comfortable. And I think we need to do better.
You mentioned core values, and I like the way you phrase them, the fact that it's not something you say, it's what you do. And the second one I read was do the right thing. So really two-parter here is one, Vicki, most places have core values. So I'm more curious about, one, why is that a core value, as far as what you guys have come up with here, and what is the intentionality behind the action of those core values that you do, specifically with do the right thing? Like, what does that mean for you as a leader, as well as the leaders at CoverMyMeds?
Yeah, I think what it means is, for me, this is the first place I've worked where I could actually recite them. We use them daily to guide our behaviors and do the right thing. Really, it can range, all over the board, from making sure we're doing the right thing to own up to our goals and where we want to be as an organization. So that might mean saying no to a certain opportunity that presents itself because it's going to take us off track for a goal that we have. Or it might mean volunteering and helping, offering to help someone else. That's the way that I think of it most. When I think of CoverMyMeds, that's what I think of. I think it's unusually common here, and I love that people just help. There's someone on the team that was recently onboarding, and they said, I was told when I got here, don't worry about it, just ask for help. I promise someone will jump in. And they said, I've heard that everywhere I've started, but it actually happens here. People literally stop what they're doing, walk over, spend time, and help me out.
Another one of them is results matter. So Matt, all this seems great, but at the end of the day, you do have to earn money, profit. That's all. This doesn't happen without it, and I know some of this leads to that. And there's other news out there which we can touch on in a second. But when it comes to results matter, what's your mindset around the fact that yes, culture is everything. It makes a huge difference, but at the end of the day, we still have to earn. How do you think about that?
Yeah. Results matter. It's a core value that's more than just money, but part of it is money. And the reason that's important is not because it's money, but because it's growth. And growth is the fundamental enabler of what we're trying to do here. How we're going to expand the impact that we have on our mission, and how we're going to create opportunities for our employees that allows us to be their best place to work and grow. And it starts by choosing growth, right? There's a lot of things that need to happen to ultimately grow, but results matter is about choosing to solve growth problems, even though that's going to create problems, because those are better problems to solve for the impact we're trying to have for our employees and the impact we're trying to have for the world than solving any other kind of problem. And so results matter and growth is really the enabler of the culture. I don't think that there's a trade-off between the culture and empowering employees and being generous and helping them win when the company wins. I don't think there's a trade-off between that and financial success. In fact, I think it's actually the opposite. I think, ironically, the way to be incredibly successful is to be incredibly generous, right? Because if you want to do big things, you can't do it on your own.
At the beginning, like at the start, is it easier to say that now after everything, or has this always been the ethos of the company? Because I think there's some people who are at different stages of their business, different levels of profitability or other things happening. And I mean, candidly, they might be saying, well, it's easy to say that now. What about at the beginning when it might have been tougher or you didn't have all the clients, whatever it may be? What do you think about that?
I think what employees value changes over time as the company changes over time. What we can be good at delivering that employees value changes over time too. But this should be, in my view, and was here, the mindset from the very beginning. One of the things that we've been incredibly fortunate to have at CoverMyMeds and have in the leaders today and the people that helped us start the company was really that their purpose was achieved by creating opportunity for others. And the mission of helping patients matters to a lot of us, but for me personally, my personal purpose in life is creating opportunity for the people I work with. And I think I share that purpose with a lot of the people here. And so it was important from the beginning. How we did it is different. But lunch, we actually, before we had clients and revenue, we were actually having lunch and with our employees, and that was just something that we thought people valued. And so we've always tried to give people more than they expected.
It's interesting. When you go on Glassdoor, I mean, that's one of the things a lot of employees write about, is they love that aspect. And we were talking earlier about that, and the fact that it can create community and engagement amongst the people who work here. It's not just the food; it's what breaking bread every day does together to build some of that culture.
I was going to say, when I joined, we were about 100 people, and at that point, you literally could sit down and have lunch with the same set of folks every day. Now, we're big. That's a great opportunity to have lunch with lots more different people, but it really was the place where we, built that community that you're talking about. So.
Yeah, and to me, Vicki talked about these values as being real. You stop someone in the hallway that you haven't met and let us know if they can't name those core values, because they're important to us, because they're what create that purpose. One of the things I've really discovered over the last couple of years personally for me is that if you're in it for just the accomplishment alone, you're gonna be disappointed, because that accomplishment is fleeting. It's like buying things. There's always something bigger. There's always someone that's done more, right? It's a treadmill. Yep. But what isn't fleeting is the journey that we're on together. And by having a mission that matters and being on that journey with an operating system, our core values, that teaches us how to be generous, how to love each other, how to support each other, that creates purpose that's way beyond the accomplishment. And that's not fleeting at all. We can be winning every day if we're not just waiting for this thing to happen, if we're on a journey that's creating that purpose. And that to me is what's so important about the core values and how they work together with our mission here.
Love it. Vicki, one of the things I like to ask a lot of the leaders I've spoken with is advice that they would give to somebody who's earlier in their career. And I've found that advice is good for everybody, typically. It's not just for the person, even though that's how the question's phrased. So I would love to ask you that, given the dynamic background of your trajectory of your career, I think this could be really useful for people to hear. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So what advice, if you're sitting one-on-one with someone you mentor, which I imagine you probably do a lot, both of you do, I'm sure, what would you tell that person?
I think the number one thing I would say, and I'm surprised that it isn't maybe something that people think about more commonly, is to not think of their path as necessarily linear. So I think we're in an organization, we see the structure, and we assume that my next step is here and then here and here. And I think what I've learned and what I encourage others to think is really that there's an advantage in moving laterally, broadening, and when you do that, the opportunities open up in ways that you don't even realize they were there. So that would be a bit of advice, and I think to just tag onto that, I really feel strongly that there's an advantage to being more of a generalist, kind of that T shape where you're broad, you're likely deep in a couple of areas, and that's to be expected, but the breadth, especially for a leader, I think adds a lot to what you bring.
Interesting. How about you, Matt? When you're helping people a lot,
Yeah. It's a great question, because so important, especially early. I think my advice especially to people earlier in their career would maybe be two things. And that's be next to something that's growing. There's no better way to be useful than to be standing there with an empty hand when someone needs to put a shovel in it, right? And I think that be next to something that's growing, and we have incredible people here that have had incredible careers, not because they didn't deserve them, but what enabled it is that we were able to give them the chance, and they were able to have the awareness and the talent and the passion to take that chance and be successful with it. So be next to something that's growing. The other thing is there's no starting gun, and that's I think coming out of school, there's a Pink Floyd song that talks about this actually, and it's this. I was waiting for the starting gun, and coming out of school, you're waiting for the world to tell you what to do, to hand you the thing. And the shift that we need to make, and I wish schools helped kids make it before, is to recognize that there's a two-way street that we need to be on with the people that we're working with, where we're pursuing what's important. We're not waiting for them to give it to us, and we're asking, how can I be useful? And you had a great podcast with Jim Collins where Jim actually asked that question. And no starting gun, be next to something that's expanding. And I think Vicki has great ideas about leadership, but early in the career, I think those are two things that I would point out.
I think it came out today. You were ranked the 14th best CEO in the country, ahead of people like Mark Benioff from Salesforce, the CEO of Southwest Airlines, Chick-fil-A, Facebook, ahead of a host of people we've heard. Two parts. First, I mean, that's got to feel pretty cool, but what's like going through your mind when you get that, and then what is it? I mean, how do you get ranked? Because it's ranked by people who work for you and the people that know you. And I when I'm doing like 360s or those types of assessments, I love asking the people who work for you and your peers. I don't know who your boss is, but most people in mid-level managers, I like to ask the people that report to them, what do they like, and their peers, what do they like, not necessarily if they can kiss up really well. So I'm curious as to your thought process around that leads to an award such as that.
Yeah, and just for the audience, that's Glassdoor,
right,
which is where employees, it's the best place to work contest that every employer in America is competing in, whether they know it or not, because their employees are going to Glassdoor and are saying what they think.
Anonymously, so it's usually
the
truth.
Yeah. So let me start by saying that you mentioned some incredible people, and I don't think that this ranking isn't in any sense I don't know that I've earned that. What I would say, to the extent that I'm on that list, it's a reflection really of the company and the people here, not me. And one of the unfortunate things about the world is we over-attribute success and frankly failure to one person. And the reality is that with that award, I really do believe that it's a reflection of the amazing people that helped start this company, the character and values that they had, all the way to the 1,000 plus employees that we have now, who are committed to making this their best place to work and grow, and are going to Glassdoor and saying what they think.
Yeah. So I'm curious, for both of you, Vicki, I'll start with you. When it comes to just leadership as in general, right? Very broad term, but you have now exhibited some incredible leadership qualities yourself to rise to the ranks you are, and you've also been surrounded by others who have. And when you look around and you also self-assess, in addition to looking around, what have you found to be the commonalities among the leaders who have been able to sustain excellence?
I think there are so many, but one that I feel is near and dear to me is this very delicate balance between being in side by side with the folks that you're leading and showing them that you're willing to be there. And I don't mean doing their job. That's not what I mean at all. But being side by side with them, being in the mix of it, and actually filling the role, which often is supporting them, and sometimes it is carrying the water bottles if that's what needs to get done. And I think that's a big important part, but then balancing that with not being there too much. So not being, the coddling leader who is actually really drawing away. This is not going to lead to growth of new leaders, which as a leader, that should be your probably number one job is building new leaders. Certainly something we make very important here at CoverMyMeds. So yeah, I think it's finding that delicate balance is really, really tricky. And I've been managing and leading for a number of years now, and every single day I'm trying to find that right spot. And today it's one place, and tomorrow it's a little different place. And for person A on your team, it's here, and for person B, it's here. And so I think navigating that is really hard.
That's, I think, Vicki, something that you do incredibly well. And I had a suspicion about what I thought your greatest strength is, because we've worked together. But I actually asked a number of your peers today to confirm it. And they said Vicki does so many great things, but the number one is that she helps the team understand what's important so that they can focus on solving the customer's problem. And that's a tough thing, because we have incredibly passionate developers here who care about the technology, who care about the quality. Vicki cares about the technology and cares about the quality, but she is able to have a team that is working on the right things not by telling them what to do, but by helping them understand what's important. And Vicki just was a part of just a phenomenal triumph with her team in a new product that she worked on with Erica, launching our specialty platform, which helps patients access specialty medications. And this was a challenging project that could have gone wrong in 1,000 ways, but the only way it was going to go right was by understanding what was truly important. And in this particular case, it was building that product in a way where we created a network for providers, and by creating that network, we were able to touch patients that no one else could help. And Vicki was able to work in an environment where it can very quickly become box checking, where it can very quickly become distractions, and help the team stay focused on that. And in a technology company, that's so important. And in a scaling a technology company, that's even more important, because your ability to outwork, to just be on a grind forever, goes away as you get bigger and as you want to start trying to create some work-life balance for the folks that you have. And the only escape out of that is to understand what's truly important and be able to do that. And win not by outworking, but by creating a structural advantage. Not just the code you write, but the code you don't write. And Vicki has done that phenomenally well here. And that's, I think, that enables the autonomy that she's talking about, is by understanding what's important, so that people can frankly make better decisions than any of us would make. Yeah. They're closer to the problem, but they have to understand what's important in order to do that.
All of that has led to, I would imagine, a number of companies that wanted to acquire you, and that has happened. Could you share, Vicki, since the acquisition, when did the acquisition from McKesson take place?
We closed in April of 2017. Okay. So more than 2 years ago.
So now, what's been then, I get a sense out of now talking to you that this has to be an opportunity for growth. It could be unlimited. I'm curious, what has been some of the benefits since seeing this acquisition happen?
The benefits have really been in a lot of areas. I think it's nice to be able to take advantage of, for example, working with some of the other organizations within McKesson that we would have had to build relationships outside, because we are a networking. That's what we do. We build a network, and so that often means integrations and partnerships with other organizations. So I think that's been a big advantage. It's also been super exciting the other way to watch CoverMyMeds be able to have an impact on McKesson and help lead them in ways and teach them the ways that we, for example, grow our culture. We had a set of folks here from different McKesson organizations today. We did innovation days. They came along for the ride. They said, hey, this is something we want to learn about. This is something we want to be able to do within our organization. So it's been a two-way street. In terms of opportunities, I think the opportunities, it even broadens them more. And honestly, we have so many here already at CoverMyMeds, but yeah.
What went into that decision, and what have you seen since then?
Yeah, so we had lots of choices about where to go as a company. And McKesson had actually been a partner since 2010, and a really important partner that helped us work with pharmacies to make our product available to help more patients get the medications they need. And so it was an important partnership to us, to McKesson, also to our customers and patients ultimately that are benefiting from this. But we had lots of choices, and we did this deal because it was the best way to grow the impact we can have on our mission and to secure the lasting success of our company by being able to focus on top line growth in ways that help, new ways that help patients get the medications that they need to be healthy. And we had McKesson is a company that I respect a lot. One of the oldest companies in America. So if you think about the change that they have navigated, they, for example, existed before electricity was in homes. They existed before the automobile. They existed before the airplane. And we're in a world as a technology company where most tech companies don't survive, the platform shift from big browser to mobile, right? And so we have a lot to learn in that way. And I think we've been helpful in thinking about a growth orientation and mindset around technology. And so it's been a huge success. We're 3 times larger than when we did the deal. So, which is a success by really any measure. They're incredibly happy about it. We're incredibly happy because it's created, we now have from one core product, we now have 5 ways to grow the impact that we have on that mission of helping patients, and 5 ways to grow the company that creates more career opportunities for our employees. So it's gone really well, and thoughtful, 2-way street, and focused on growth through that mission rather than on the things that M&A is typically focused on.
And one last thing, it's leading to this incredible new space that you're building. Vicki, could you share what's the details behind this new space and why this is happening? That I think you just broke ground, or it's going to take a few years. But what about this?
Yeah, so we're at a space, and it's really exciting for me that it's staying in Columbus. Obviously, that's exciting and really awesome. We need more room. It'll be great to be back together. We're literally now split across 2 locations and quickly running out of room. I can't wait. Be able to have an opportunity to also give back to the Franklinton community, and really be in an area of Columbus that could use some help and some growth, and to bring the community involvement. Or many of the people here have been contributing their time and energy and volunteering out in the community. We're working with the library, the schools, and we're really excited about the opportunity to do that more.
It's great, and I just want to acknowledge this is, I think, great learning for me, and I'm sure everybody here and the ones listening, just to hear about some of the fact that you've been so intentional about building your culture, which has led to so much sustained excellence for your company, and the future looks really bright. So thank you so much for being here and having me be a part of this. It was a lot of fun, and let's all give it up for Vicki and Matt, please.